Good afternoon, everybody. We're going to start in about another minute or two. A few more people are still rolling in. All right, let's get started here. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another webinar presentation brought to you by Pursuit. My name is Justin Nadeau, and I want to thank everybody for joining today and taking the time out of your day. Before we get started, I wanted to let everybody know that this presentation will be recorded, and the recording and the slides today will be sent to everyone later this evening. There's been, this presentation that we're going to show to you today, there's been a lot of changes to the PPP program. And today's presentation, I know there may be some existing borrowers of ours on this call, but this presentation is going to be mainly geared towards new businesses, new applicants. What we plan to do here during this presentation is to inform the businesses of this program and the many changes that have happened, since the beginning of April, and more importantly, since June 5th, since President Trump and Congress and the Senate have approved a bunch of new changes that could benefit you and your business even more. So a lot of you on this call may not know who Pursuit is. And during this presentation, the speaker will be explaining who Pursuit is and what Pursuit's relationship is with the SBA. We've been an SBA lender for over 60 plus years, and the speaker will go into that a little bit. Again, this presentation is going to be geared to more of the new applicants, people that have not received a PPP loan. So we're going to explain the program again and how this program can be used to benefit your business during these tough times. We're also going to explain a little bit about the forgiveness and a couple of things that have changed within the forgiveness aspect of the program, and more importantly, in how to get this PPP loan through Pursuit. So without further ado, I'm going to officially introduce you to our speaker, Mr. Chris Levy. He is a Senior Vice President here at Pursuit, and he has been the leader throughout this whole time period for this program. And without further ado, Mr. Chris Levy.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to learn a little bit about Pursuit, the Paycheck Protection Program, and how this program and especially the loan forgiveness can benefit your small business. Like Justin talked about, we're here today primarily for businesses that have not yet received the PPP loan. If you are a business that has benefited from the program already, we will have future webinars in place that'll go into much more detail about the loan forgiveness, especially considering the changes that have been put into law so far, but so far those changes have not resulted in any additional guidance from SBA yet. So we're going to just be patient and wait to see how SBA addresses some of these new specific laws and regulations before we put that information out there. So this is going to be a very general overview of the Paycheck Protection Program and the changes to the loan forgiveness regulations. The first thing that we wanted to just address is who Pursuit is and what our role is in the Paycheck Protection Program. Pursuit is an SBA lender, and We've been around for over 65 years, primarily providing SBA loans to small businesses. On our normal day-to-day, we do other types of commercial business loans, including loans for equipment, for commercial real estate, inventory, working capital, debt refinance, all your traditional general business type loans. Obviously, as an SBA lender and with the Paycheck Protection Program that the SBA has put out there, we have been involved in that, and our organization has made over 5,500 Paycheck Protection Program loans for upwards of over $450 million. So we've been very involved from the very beginning in this program, and we're here to help our small businesses get through these tough times, and hopefully that this program is able to benefit them. So just a little designation between Pursuit and the SBA, the Small Business Administration. Pursuit is a direct lender who provides small business financing, and we do specialize in SBA loans. So when you're looking to apply for a PPP loan or looking for the loan forgiveness, everything that you're doing is through Pursuit. We follow the rules and regulations provided by the SBA, but at the end of the day, everything goes through us. We just follow all the rules that SBA sets. So we will collect and submit all loan applications for approval. We will manage all the loan forgiveness process, all of this based on instructions outlined by SBA. So all of the communication regarding your loan will be made through Pursuit. You will not have any direct contact with the SBA.
So Chris, just real quickly, so just to be clear, Pursuit is the lender of record, not the SBA.
Correct. You will have your loan documents will have Pursuit listed on them, and we will have all the communication with the small business. As many of you know, the rules and regulations surrounding this program have been rapidly changing over the past 2.5 months. It seems like every day there's a new rule from SBA or new question and answer that they're providing. So we are really advising our small business owners to not panic and be patient. We're trying our best to get the rules and regulations out there in a way that makes sense to you. We want to make it easy to understand, but we also want people to be aware that the rules are constantly evolving and that you need to be on the lookout for updated guidance. Our website has many tools that are helpful for this. We have an entire page related to the Paycheck Protection Program. We have an entire page related to loan forgiveness, and we even have a robust list of 30 or so frequently asked questions about the loan forgiveness aspect of the program. So visit those resources for up-to-date information, and we obviously provide that as quickly as we can. So be aware that there are constant updates and constant changes to the program. The other important note is that there really aren't any experts in the world about the Paycheck Protection Program. This is new to everybody. All lenders and actually the entire general public is getting these rules as they're released at the same time. So there's nobody that has more intimate knowledge than others. There's nobody that has an inside track to get you a faster approval or get you more money. Everybody's working with the same set of rules here. And we just want to caution our small business owners not to get tricked into anybody that's out there saying that they can be an expert and really assist you in your loan application or get you more forgiveness or anything like that, because it really just doesn't exist. Now we're going to get into the specifics behind the Paycheck Protection Program. Again, we're going to kind of talk about these generally. We're not going to go into super specific details. I encourage you to visit our website for some of those frequently asked questions, which does dive into some of the specifics. So the greatest aspect of the Paycheck Protection Program is the loan forgiveness of it. So what happens is you are given a loan, but the SBA is allowing 100% of that loan to end up being forgiven, which essentially turns this loan into a grant. For that reason, it's an incredible program for the small business. You have to use it for certain expenses, but at the end of the day, it essentially becomes a grant, which will greatly impact those businesses that are impacted by the coronavirus. As many of you probably know, the loan amount is calculated based on 2.5 times the business's average monthly payroll. And there are very specific calculations for how that average monthly payroll cost is determined, but it's usually just based on your last year of operations and what that average payroll for each month was. They multiply it by 2.5, and that creates your maximum loan amount. The program is going to run through June 30th. That is when you must be approved in order to obtain this financing. So if you are looking to apply, we recommend getting your application in soon, because there's only about 3 weeks left in order to obtain an approval for the program. So highly recommended that, if we kind of get through this and you understand the program and you're interested, that you apply as quickly as possible to ensure that you're going to get the benefits of the program and the real benefit of the loan forgiveness. The main reason why we're here today is to talk about some of the changes to the loan forgiveness regulations. Originally, the Act had certain stipulations for loan forgiveness, but last Friday, the President signed a bill called the Paycheck Protection Program Flexibility Act, which provided more time and flexibility for small businesses to obtain the loan forgiveness aspect of their loan, to make the terms of the loan more advantageous for the small business owner. The rationale behind it was that when Congress originally put together the CARES Act, which was the underlying legislation for the PPP program, was that they expected that the virus was going to be quick, people would be back to work within a few weeks, but obviously that's not how it turned out, and this pandemic kind of stretched longer than they originally anticipated. So the Paycheck Protection Program Flexibility Act was designed to provide flexibility to those borrowers that obtain loans, and to also make it advantageous for those who were scared away from the program to come back and understand that there were more beneficial rules and regulations that would allow them to access the program. So that's kind of the background on where this came from and why we're here talking about it. If you obtain a PPP loan through Pursuit, we're going to provide you with updates on the program and how to maximize your forgiveness throughout the period. So we'll be in touch, and we're here to hopefully get everybody 100% forgiveness if that's possible. We want to help, we want to get that, we really want to turn this loan into a grant that's going to benefit the small business. We're now going to talk about some of the key changes to the Paycheck Protection Program in this Flexibility Act that I talked about. There's a few main changes here. The first one, and probably the most talked about one, is the extension of the forgiveness period. Originally, the program had 8 weeks in which eligible expenses that were to be forgiven had to be incurred. So you had to pay payroll, you had to pay utilities, mortgage interest, or rent during an 8-week period, and that's the maximum amount that could be forgiven, was what was spent during that 8-week period. As we know, the economy was slower to open up, so many businesses got their loan but were unable to reopen because of government rules, or just an inability because everybody was at home quarantining and they didn't have the opportunity to really open up their business and had no employees to pay. So Congress amended this to a 24-week period, which is obviously substantially longer. It's almost 6 months to allow the loan to be forgiven. So now that those payroll, utilities, rent, mortgage interest, as long as they're utilized within that 24-week period following the disbursement of the loan, they will have the opportunity to be forgiven. That's a substantial increase. It's a longer period of time, and essentially businesses are going to have almost until the end of the year to spend the money on eligible, forgivable expenses, which again is hopefully going to lead to 100% forgiveness of the loan. The original act also had a stipulation that at least 75% of loan proceeds needed to be spent on payroll, and the other 25% could be spent on those other expenses, what SBA calls non-payroll expenses, which is mortgage interest, rent, and utilities. The amended act reduced the minimum amount to be spent on payroll to 60%, which means that it allowed for some of those other expenses to have a greater part of the loan forgiveness and of the loan itself. So maybe a business that may have been in a higher rent area such as New York City could still benefit from the program and not be hampered by a maximum of 25% utilized for those non-payroll costs. Now the maximum is 40%. It creates a lot more flexibility for the small business owner to be able to spend it on other expenses other than payroll.
Now, Chris, a common question I'm getting with this change right here is what happens if the business doesn't use 60% of the PPP loan towards payroll costs? Like, what if they hit 50%? Are they still eligible for loan forgiveness, or do they have to reach that mark in order for like the trigger to click on?
Yep. So this question, the answer kind of ends up being that there is partial loan forgiveness. If you do not meet that full 60% minimum amount to be spent on payroll, and like Justin said, maybe you only use 50%, you can still receive loan forgiveness up to that amount, and also a similar prorated portion for the non-payroll costs as well. So just because you don't meet that minimum amount does not mean you're getting zero forgiveness. There is partial forgiveness allowed, which is an important consideration. You know, if it's a business where you're unable to bring back all your employees and you may not have enough payroll during that 24 weeks to meet that 60% minimum threshold, you still can receive partial forgiveness, which is an important benefit. The next change that was made was what the SBA and Congress called the safe harbor provision, where it required people to return to a similar level of employment as they were prior to the pandemic. So this meant by June 30th, 2020, businesses needed to get to the same level of full-time equivalent employees in order to not receive a reduction in their loan forgiveness. And this was Congress's way of ensuring that businesses were bringing their employees back to work. Now, as we've talked about, obviously, the way that the economy has been reopening has been slower than anticipated, and many businesses are not going to be able to have 100% of their employees back by June 30th. I know that a lot of restaurants, at least in New York, they're in this phase 4 of opening, and they may not be able to return to 100% capacity until well after this June 30th deadline, which would make it almost impossible for a business such as a restaurant to obtain full forgiveness. With the changes that Congress has put in place, it extends this deadline to December 31st. This obviously is 6 months later. Hopefully at that point the economy has recovered and we're able to reopen the economy and reopen restaurants and other businesses where we may have had state legislated actions that reduces the number of people that are allowed to congregate together. So this extension and pushing this out until the end of the year provides businesses a much longer time to be able to ramp up their employment levels to pre-pandemic levels and ensure that they have enough time to bring everybody back to work so that they can meet the loan forgiveness criteria.
And Chris, just to be clear, so the application process in order to get a loan, to be approved for a loan, is still June 30th. This is only for bringing back employees.
Correct. This extension does not extend the date that you can apply for a PPP loan. That still remains at June 30th, but it does extend the forgiveness period and also the safe harbor date where you have to meet those full-time employee figures. So this obviously is a loan to start out, although it does have the forgiveness aspect, which, as I've mentioned, can potentially turn into a grant. But if it does end up being where a business does not obtain full loan forgiveness and they still have a loan on their books after the covered period where they try to obtain the forgiveness, before the loan term was 2 years, it did have a 6-month period where there were no payments, but then whatever was left would have to be repaid in full by the end of 2 years. Congress has changed this so that the period is now 5 years for repayment. So any business that is unable to obtain complete loan forgiveness and still has a loan on their books, after the PPP loan and the cover period is up, they will now have a period of 5 years in order to repay the loan. So this will significantly reduce the monthly payments and give the business a longer period of time to pay back the loan. So it's not a significant burden on them in the event that they do not obtain full loan forgiveness. Similarly, the deferral period, which means that once you obtain the loan, there is no payments required for the first 6 months. That has been changed as well, where no payments will be required until the loan forgiveness has been determined. So this is a very significant benefit that may go unnoticed by many people, but the time frame of applying for loan forgiveness, SBA responding to that forgiveness application, and the lender being able to submit that to SBA could result in payments being due before the full forgiveness is given. This change, makes it clear that no borrower will have to make a monthly payment. Everybody will have the opportunity to obtain loan forgiveness before any payment is due. So this is a very strong benefit to businesses to let everybody the opportunity to obtain loan forgiveness. So those are the main changes to the program. I think it's important at this point to kind of take a step back and allow our business owners to rethink where they are in the recovery from this virus and from the pandemic. Take a step back and re-examine where your business stands, what your game plan is going forward. And you may not have obtained a PPP loan in the past because you were unsure if you were going to be able to meet the criteria for forgiveness or if you'd have enough time to reopen. So we hope that providing these rules and outlining the updated guidelines from SBA kind of affords you the opportunity to regroup and rethink where your game plan is for the next 6 months or so, and maybe the PPP loan is something that you can benefit from. We hope that we've kind of provided a good outline for that, and that you will be able to obtain maximum loan forgiveness. All along throughout this process, Pursuit has tried to make it as easy as possible on our borrowers. So our goal for loan forgiveness is to help you maximize the forgiveness and minimize the level of difficulty in obtaining the forgiveness. If you do obtain a loan through us, we're going to make the forgiveness process as simple as possible. We're going to try to make the calculations easy on you. We're going to make the documentation requirements as minimal as possible, and we really want to help everybody maximize forgiveness and make sure that they understand the rules and regulations, so that it can be a simple process for you and you can focus on running your business. We don't want this to be a black cloud over your head that you're thinking about constantly. We want to make it easy on you. So that's our goal for the loan forgiveness, and we will continue to provide updates, whether that be on our website, via email, or additional webinars to ensure that everybody understands these rules and how they impact the business. The last thing that we have to say today is that you can apply online today. We are still accepting applications. Many banks and other financial institutions are no longer accepting applications just because of the way the program has been for them. But we still are accepting them today. We will be through the end of June. I encourage everybody to apply as soon as they're comfortable. Don't wait to the very end, just because that is a hard deadline of June 30th, and that means that it has to be approved before June 30th. So I recommend applying at least a week before then to ensure that your application can get through the process. It only takes about 20 minutes to apply online through our very easy to use digital portal. The website is here, and that obviously will be emailed out to everybody that has participated in this call. And we're currently approving applications usually within a day or two of them being submitted. So, this is going to be something that we're trying to make as easy as possible for our small business borrowers, and we encourage you to apply. And we hope that we can be a partner with you as you're on this recovery process. The last thing that I would say is, again, just thank everybody for their time. Hopefully everybody has stayed safe throughout this, and that everybody's recovering and their business is getting, somewhat back to normal. We really hope that we can be here to help reopen the economy and help as many small businesses as we can. So again, thank you for taking the time and appreciate it. We will not be taking any questions, but like I said, we have many resources on our website. And if you do have questions, feel free to send them along via our website, and we'll get as many answered as we can. So thank you again, everybody, and stay safe.